There are also video cameras that captured you while in the act, so stop deceiving yourself. Don't you want to be fucked? Well, I'm going to grant your wish. I already know it's you, Muna.
Whisper through the banyan leaves, 1,000 lives in every breeze. Drums that pulse, they softly tease. Time folds the stories we. Echoes rise, they call us near. Through shadowed past, the path is clear. Legend tales, the heart can hear. A world reborn in every tear.
Muna sighed and sadly went to pick up her clothes. She didn't feel confident enough to get dressed while Junseo was in front of her, so she went into the bathroom and wore her clothes. Junseo did not say anything about the call Muna received from Miho, and this unnerved her. She knew from experience that Junseo did not condone her being in contact with Miho, so why wasn't he saying anything? She briefly considered asking him about it, but changed her mind. If she began to explain herself, it might make her appear more guilty and make Junseo upset. After getting dressed, she let her wet hair still fall on her back and followed behind as Junseo walked out of the hotel room. He boarded a taxi and instructed the driver to take them to the police station. Throughout their journey to the station, Junseo did not say a word to Muna, and neither did he look at her. She became really afraid at this point and finally decided to speak. She didn't want Junseo to treat her like an enemy once again, and she was willing to do whatever it took to achieve that. Just before they entered the police station, she held Junseo's arm and said, "Please hold on, Junseo, I need to speak to you." Junseo stopped and turned to look at her. She thought about how to express what she wanted to say and finally opened her mouth, but Junseo cut her off before she could complete her first word. "What is your plan for Minji?" he asked. Muna stared at him in confusion as she could not understand what exactly he meant. When she didn't answer his question, he said, "Minji was arrested for pushing you off the cliff, so you would likely be expected to give your statement to the prosecuting officer, and he will ask you if you want to charge the case to court. Which is why I am asking, do you want Minji to go to prison and pay the price for attempting to kill you?" Muna became surprised. She had thought Junseo was coming to bail Minji out. She didn't expect that the issue would be so serious or that the decision would eventually rest on her shoulder. She couldn't deny that she hated Minji, especially because she had smashed a large quantity of cake on her face. However, she couldn't bear to send Minji to jail. She was still young and her life would be completely wasted if she spent most of it in prison. Besides, Minji had rescued them from the island, so she decided to be the better person and show Minji mercy. Smiling at Junseo, she replied, "Although I know that Minji was very wrong since I could have died, but I have decided to forgive her because we all make mistakes. So let's ask the prosecuting officer to drop the charges that have been leveled against her and get her out on bail." Junseo stared at Muna for a while and suddenly caressed her cheekbones. "My little Muna, you have a very kind heart. Let's go in." This gesture from Junseo made Muna feel over the moon. Junseo had even smiled at her because she chose to forgive Minji. She felt pleased with herself and had a smile plastered on her face as they got into the station. However, the smile quickly disappeared when another thought got into her mind. Junseo had not smiled at her all this while and only did because she wanted to let Minji off the hook. Was Junseo's happiness because Minji was going to get her freedom? Could it be that he wanted to resume his sexual relationship with Minji? Muna began to feel nauseous as she thought about it. Was she making a mistake by letting Minji go? If she became selfish and sent Minji to prison, she would be getting rid of a big obstacle that stood in her way. If the roles were reversed, Minji would have surely sent her to prison. She looked up at Junseo and noticed that he still had that happy look on his face. Her heart became heavy and her face suddenly became pale in appearance. They both met the officer in charge of the case, and Junseo told him that they wanted to bail out Minji and they were not willing to charge her for her crime. However, the officer refused and insisted that Minji had not just committed a crime against Muna, but against the government as well, Hence, she would still be charged to court even if they did not want to charge the case. Junseo stared at Muna and gestured with his eyes for her to speak, but the officers saw their interaction and felt that she was being forced to drop the charges, so he said, "Don't bother pleading on her behalf because she won't get bail now. She would be arraigned before a judge, and if he deems it fit, he would set her bail conditions." Muna said, "Please sir, Minji is my best friend and she suffers from a little personality disorder. Sometimes she does things without realizing, but she is not a bad person. If it weren't for her, my husband and I would not have made it back safely. She searched for us relentlessly even when everyone else gave up, and she only felt relieved when she found us alive. Please, I don't want to lose my best friend. She made a mistake and I've forgiven her because I understand her better than anyone else." The officer regarded Muna for a while. "Is this really what you want, Mrs. Kim?" "Yes, it is," Muna replied. "All right then, I will let her go for your sake." Muna saw the look of relief on Junseo's face and didn't feel good about what she had just done at all, especially since she claimed Minji was her best friend. She was made to sign and Minji was released on bail. Minji threw herself on Junseo's body the moment she came out of the cell and, while crying, said, "I knew you would come for me. I am innocent and didn't do what I'm being accused of." Muna rolled her eyes when she saw Minji still denying in front of Junseo. Did she think they were fools? Junseo held Minji's hand and led her out of the station while Muna followed behind sadly. Minji felt happy inside because she had thought Junseo didn't feel anything for her anymore. The fact that he bailed her out immediately and took her side gave her confidence that she still had a chance with him and would be able to kick Muna out of his life. She stared at Muna happily with a triumphant look on her face, thereby making Muna feel sicker. Her happiness did not last as Junseo flung her to the side when they got out of the station. She stared at him in surprise while he pointed his hand at her and said, "Do not get any foolish ideas. I already realized you pushed Muna off the cliff while I was still on the island. There are also video cameras that captured you while in the act, so stop deceiving yourself. You are only free right now because Muna chose to show you mercy, and the only reason why I am not punishing you is that you saved us from the island. You can still work for me if you chose, and I won't fire you, but make no mistake, the relationship which existed between us in the past is over. You are nothing but my employee now, so behave appropriately, and when we get back to Seoul tomorrow, keep your distance from me." After speaking, Junseo held the hand of the shocked Muna and walked out of the station's premises, leaving behind Minji, whose tears were now dropping uncontrollably. Minji stared at Junseo and Muna as they walked away. She was shocked at the realization that she had finally lost Junseo, and she had no one else to blame for her mistake. If she had known that trying to kill Muna would backfire so badly, she would have heeded Junseo's warnings, but now it was too late. No, she could not accept defeat. She wiped her eyes and made a decision. Didn't Junseo tell her that Muna had a man whom she was madly in love with? All she had to do was get in touch with him. If she could get him on her side, together they would be able to separate Junseo and Muna. With this determination, Minji followed behind Muna and Junseo, who were already out of her sight. Muna was beside herself with joy. She could not believe that she had been worried and sad over nothing. Junseo's eventual treatment of Minji was spot on, and it made Muna realize just how hard she had fallen for him. She stared at him from the corner of her eyes as he held her hand while stopping a cab. He still wore a serious expression on his face, and Muna could not help but wonder if they would continue from where they left off once they got back to the hotel room. When they arrived at the hotel and got out of the cab, Muna's heart began to race once again. It was already evening, and she knew Junseo always got more flirty when the night was approaching. She strongly believed that he would make love to her, and the thought of it soon made her body become heated up from excitement. When they finally got into their hotel room, Junseo took off his jacket, but just before he could put it away, Muna ran to him and wrapped one of her arms around his body from behind. Junseo paused for a while before turning to face Muna. He smiled at her and slowly caressed her lips with his thumb while Muna closed her eyes, ready for Junseo's lips to devour hers. However, before either of them could go further, they heard a knock on the door. Muna stopped herself from cursing out loud. Her mood became worse when Junseo opened the door and revealed Minji standing outside. He had known that she would follow behind them, which was why he didn't bother to make a move on Muna, but she seemed to crave him, and the thought of it made him happy. Minji's eyes were red from crying, and she stared at Junseo pitifully when he opened the door, but he acted like he couldn't care less and went ahead to change into casual clothes. Minji quickly got into the bathroom and took her bath while both Junseo and Muna sat on the bed while he made their flight arrangements on his phone. When Minji got out of the bathroom, she had a towel tied around her body. The towel was short and exposed her hips and thighs as well as her sexy legs. Muna instinctively felt the need to cover Junseo's eyes with her hands, especially when she noticed that Minji had caught his attention. However, she was afraid that Junseo would get upset since he hadn't given her any rights yet. She opened her eyes wide in surprise when Minji suddenly went unclad and began to cream her body sexily. How shameless could she get? Muna thought to herself. She could see that Junseo wasn't able to take his eyes off Minji's body, and the pain she had experienced at the station resurfaced once again. She began to feel inferior. Minji was better than her. She was more beautiful and quite good at seducing Junseo, which was something Muna could never achieve. There was no way she could compete with Minji because she was bound to lose, and with the way Minji captured Junseo's attention, it was only a matter of time before she rekindled the passion between them. This realization made Muna so jealous and so sad that tears threatened to force their way out of her eyes. She lay on the bed sadly and closed her eyes. She didn't want to see it anymore. Junseo could go ahead and do whatever he wanted to do with Minji, and she would not interrupt them. She heard Junseo get up from the bed and immediately opened her eyes, thinking he wanted to do what she feared. However, Junseo opened the door and walked out of the room. When Minji noticed that Junseo had left, she smiled triumphantly. No matter how much Junseo tried to deny it, she still affected him, and now that she had proven it to herself, she was confident of her next plan. Muna closed her eyes once again and tried to distract herself. However, the scene of Junseo staring at Minji's nakedness kept bothering her. What right did she have to complain? Minji had been in Junseo's life for a long time, and they had slept with each other so many times. Hence, it was normal for Junseo to still be attracted to her, but where was he? She got up from the bed when Minji left and decided to look for Junseo. She knew she was acting like the clingy and jealous girlfriend, but she couldn't help herself. She was never like this even with Miho. She didn't know why Junseo suddenly had so much effect on her. Her feelings were probably one-sided, and she knew it made her seem pathetic, but she was still willing to follow her heart and see where it led. She noticed that Junseo sat by a leisure bench just outside the hotel. She could see his back because of the way he sat, but she could also see Minji standing not too far away and staring at him. Muna wondered if Junseo was aware that Minji was staring at him. She turned to go back inside the hotel, but decided against it. Why did she have to hide away? Minji was the one whom Junseo had pushed away, not her, so she didn't need to hide from him. She walked slowly behind Junseo. She was aware that Minji was now looking at her, but she pretended to be oblivious. After all, Minji had done the same thing when she went unclad earlier in the bedroom. She stood behind Junseo and covered his eyes with her right hand. "I already know it's you, Muna," he said while laughing. Muna turned and sat on the bench with him. "How did you know it was me?" she asked while smiling. "Well, it's easy. You have the smallest hands I have ever seen." Muna slapped him lightly on the shoulder as she feigned anger while he guffawed his delight. After a while, she decided to ask him, "Were you angry because Minji went naked in the room? Your eyes couldn't seem to leave her body." Junseo stared at Muna for a while. If he didn't know better, he would have thought Muna was jealous. However, he was aware that Miho was the one she loved, so he quickly dispelled the idea of her jealousy and felt she was just asking to know. Muna had almost thought that Junseo would not answer her question because of the way he kept on looking at her. He suddenly smiled and moved much closer to her. "Well, one thing I can say for certain is that seeing Minji naked made me want to do something to you." "And what would that be?" Muna asked, even though she suspected what the answer was. Junseo pulled Muna closer and began to kiss her, but she felt shy because there were people outside the hotel. Although it was nighttime, there were bright lights all over, and from where she sat, she could still see Minji staring at them. Junseo felt Muna's reluctance and asked, "My little wife, are you shy?" Muna nodded her head and Junseo stood up. Stretching out his hand to her, he said, "Let's go back to our hotel room." Muna took his hand happily and walked alongside him as they went back to the hotel. She knew that nothing was going to happen tonight. Junseo may have forgotten, but it seemed Minji was bound to follow him everywhere he went. The moment they got into the room, Minji knocked on the door. Junseo cursed under his breath while Muna held herself back from laughing. Minji went straight to bed and pretended to fall asleep after a while. She had seen the both of them kissing and knew that they were coming into the room to be alone and continue from where they stopped. Well, it wasn't going to happen on her watch, and if they thought they would get their privacy when they got back to Seoul, then they were both in for a surprise. She was confident that her plan was foolproof, and that plan would be her best weapon in separating them. Junseo thought about it and finally came to the conclusion that Minji's actions were deliberate. He had initially thought that it was a coincidence, but now he was sure. He decided to annoy her and stared at Muna, who was now pressing her phone. Since Minji was pretending to sleep, he stood closer to where she lay on the bed and asked, "Muna, would you like to take a bath before you sleep?" "Sure I will," Muna replied. "Why don't I give you a bath then?" he asked with a wide smile on his face. Muna stared at Junseo in surprise and suddenly felt shy while he kept smiling at her. After a while, he said, "I'm still waiting for your answer, Muna." Muna wondered what she was going to say in reply. She couldn't deny that a part of her wanted to know what it felt like to take a bath with Junseo, but the fact that the both of them would be naked made her unable to give him an answer. While Muna was still struggling with what to say, Minji got up from the bed, rubbed her eyes sleepily, and entered the bathroom. After a while, they both heard the shower running. Junseo began to laugh, and when Muna asked him what was funny, he pointed at the bathroom. Muna suddenly realized what Junseo did and felt embarrassed that she had taken his teasing too seriously. Minji came out of the bathroom after spending more than 1 hour. She hoped that Muna would have slept off from exhaustion considering how busy their day had been. When she came out of the bathroom, however, she saw Junseo sitting beside Muna while they spoke about their time on the island. They seemed to be so besotted with each other that they didn't even realize her presence. She pretended to cough and finally got their attention when she walked over to where she kept her clothes. Just like before, she took off her towel completely and went naked. However, Junseo turned his eyes away from her this time around while Muna went into the bathroom to shower. When Minji saw that Junseo didn't give Muna a bath as he had said, she felt really happy and thought that it was because of what she had done. Muna soon had her bath and came out of the bathroom. When it was time to sleep, she took her duvet and went over to the floor to sleep, just like she was made to do during her first night in the hotel. "What do you think you are doing?" Junseo asked as he got up from the bed and went to her. "I am trying to sleep. The bed is not big enough for the three of us, as you can see, and there's no couch in the room. You sleep on the bed and I'll take the floor," Junseo said, but Muna refused. "I'm already used to it, so don't make a big deal out of it." Minji stared at the both of them secretly and rolled her eyes. "Just bear with it, for now, it's just a matter of time," she told herself. Seeing that Muna was not listening to him, Junseo sat beside her on the floor and said, "Let's share the duvet then." Muna smiled and leaned her body under Junseo's arm as he stroked her hair gently until she fell asleep. He kept observing her until she became deeply asleep. He slowly lifted her from the ground and placed her on one side of the bed, while Minji slept soundly on the other side. He took a pillow and went back to the floor, placing his head on the pillow. He covered his body with the duvet, and after a while, he slept off. Muna woke up in the middle of the night to use the restroom. She was surprised to see Junseo sleeping on the floor and realized that he must have carried her to the bed. She stood for a while and stared at him lovingly before mouthing the words, "I love you." When she went back to lie on the bed, she found it difficult to go back to sleep as she kept staring at Junseo and imagining how their lives would be when they went back to Seoul. Morning soon came, and once again, Muna was the last to wake up because she had spent most of her night staring at Junseo and fantasizing about him. When she saw that both Junseo and Minji were already dressed, she dashed into the bathroom and quickly freshened up. When she came out, Junseo had ordered breakfast for them all, so she quickly got dressed and ate her plate before they all left to catch their flight. During the journey, they all sat in one row, but Junseo was unusually quiet. Muna tried time and again to start up conversations with him, but he didn't seem to be in the mood. She knew that something was bothering him, but she decided to let him be so she wouldn't seem like a pest. When the flight landed, they all came down, and by the time they got out of the airport, Junseo's personal assistant was already waiting for them with Junseo's car. Junseo smiled at him and took his keys while the assistant went back into another car. Just as Junseo got into the driver's seat, Minji hurriedly opened the door and got into the pass. Muna shook her head and went to open the back door, but Junseo was not having it. "Come and sit beside me, Muna," Junseo said as he stared at Minji. Minji saw the way Junseo looked at her and knew that it was her cue to leave the seat for Muna. She waited for Muna to stand close to the door, and when she did, Minji pushed the door open with so much force. Muna screamed in pain when she felt the door on her injured arm. She held the arm with her right hand as her wound became open and began to bleed. Junseo quickly came out of the car and stared at the blood on Muna's arm while Minji kept saying, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It was an accident." Ignoring her, Junseo helped the crying Muna into the car. He got into the driver's seat, and when Minji tried to get into the back, he locked the door. Leaving Minji behind, he quickly drove Muna to the hospital. Minji watched as the car sped away and laughed. "This is just the beginning, Muna. By the time I'm through with you, you will have no tears left to cry." She took out her phone and copied a number that was forwarded to her earlier in the day. She quickly dialed the number, and when the call was answered, she said in a very polite voice, "Hi, my name is Bora. Am I speaking with Miho?" "Yes, you are," Miho replied. "May I know who you are and your purpose of calling?" "Of course, you may, however, this is not a conversation we should have over the phone." "Whatever it is, I am not interested," Miho replied, but before he could hang up, Minji said, "I know you are Muna's boyfriend, and I also know how much you love her. I am Junseo's lover, the one he was meant to spend the rest of his life with before Muna came into the picture. You and I have something in common, Miho, and we must meet if you want your Muna back. So, what do you say?" Junseo parked his car in front of the hospital and helped Muna out. He held her uninjured arm, and they both quickly got into the hospital. Muna had stopped crying at this time, but the pain in her arm was still there. They met the same doctor who had attended to Muna the first time. He had a bad impression of Junseo, so when he saw the injury on Muna's arm, his first thought was that Junseo was the culprit. He decided to keep it to himself and began to clean the wound. Muna closed her eyes as she winced in pain while Junseo held on to one of her arms and kept comforting her. "Don't worry, dear, you will be fine. It will be over before you know it." The doctor felt surprised. Junseo's caring attitude was in contrast to how he had acted nonchalantly about Muna's plight the last time they were at the hospital. In the doctor's opinion, Muna's condition now wasn't as severe as what she suffered back then, so he was surprised by Junseo's enthusiastic concern. He had concluded back then that Junseo was a jerk, but now he felt he may have judged him too soon. Perhaps Junseo was in a bad mood back then or was very upset with Muna. Either way, seeing the way the both of them were made him feel relieved about Muna. Muna stared at Junseo, who appeared to be more worried than she was. She smiled at him after opening her eyes and said, "Don't worry too much, Junseo. Am I not your strong little wife? I will surely be okay." Junseo finally relaxed and smiled back. He knew for a fact that what happened to Muna was no accident. Minji had deliberately done it because he asked her to get off the car. He was a vindictive man and couldn't let it slide. He was going to pay Minji back no matter what. However, just as Junseo made up his mind, a call came in from Minji. His first thought was to end the call, but he decided to hear what she had to say. "I am so sorry about what happened, Junseo," Minji said the moment Junseo picked up the call. "I know it may seem that I deliberately did it because you had asked me to get down from the car, but the truth is that I didn't know Muna had gotten so close because my eyes were on you. Junseo, I made a mistake once and let my jealousy get the better of me, but that is something I can never do again. I will never try to hurt Muna again. That is a promise I made to myself because I love you. I have seen that Muna makes you happy and my happiness lies in yours. Please let Muna know that I'm truly sorry. Take care." Junseo stared at his phone in surprise when Minji ended the call. He had never heard her sound so emotional before. Could it really have been a mistake? He looked at Muna, who was staring at him while the doctor dressed her wound. Minji said that what happened was an accident, and she wanted to ask for your forgiveness. Do you buy that? Junseo waited for Muna to answer his question. She thought about it for a while. There was no doubt that Minji's actions were deliberate, but she somehow understood Minji's anger. If she had been in Minji's shoes, she wouldn't also be able to bear seeing the man she loved with another woman. She wouldn't have resorted to Minji's vicious actions though, but she was able to understand her. She smiled at Junseo and replied, "I guess she didn't really mean to hurt me. I forgive her." Junseo caressed Muna's cheeks and said, "You have such a good heart, but I hope it doesn't make you gullible." Muna felt awkward because the doctor who had finished dressing up her wound was now staring at the both of them. She made eye contact with Junseo, and they both kept staring into each other's eyes. The doctor believed for a fact that he was wrong about his initial impression of their relationship. They both loved each other, and it was all too glaring. Muna was given some pain relievers, and the doctor asked her to be careful and to come back after 3 days. He discharged her, and Junseo thanked him respectfully before taking Muna home. When they arrived home, Muna began to recall some of the torture she had undergone at Junseo's hands. She wondered if Junseo was thinking about the same thing too, and silently wished that their relationship would get better. Junseo held their luggage with one hand and opened the door with his other hand for Muna. As they got into the house, Muna began to wonder if Junseo would spend the night in her room. She wished for it, but could not bring herself to tell him. She waited for a while as she thought that he was perhaps going to invite her to spend the night in his room, but he just kept silent. Junseo wanted Muna to spend the night in his room, but he also wanted her to get enough rest since he knew she was in pain. He didn't think it was a good idea to spend the night with her because he was convinced that he wouldn't be able to keep his hands away from her. He saw that Muna was looking at him expectantly. He didn't know what she wanted to hear from him, so in the end, he said, "You must be quite hungry. Would you like me to cook for you?" Muna thought she didn't hear him well. Although she was hoping for a "would you like to spend the night with me?" having Junseo cook for her was just as good. She nodded happily and said, "The food you cooked for yourself last time smelled so nice. Would I be asking for too much if I wanted to have that?" After getting off the phone with Junseo, Minji sighed contentedly. She needed to make that phone call because she couldn't risk getting fired by Junseo. She checked her time and wondered why Miho had not arrived. She hated being kept waiting, and she was already tired from her journey from Busan. She needed to go home and rest. If Miho wasn't a crucial part of her plan, she wouldn't have entertained him in the first place. Miho arrived when Minji had almost thought he would not make it. His eyes started around the bar as he didn't know what she looked like. Minji rolled her eyes and waved at him as she beckoned for him to come to her. He walked over and took a seat beside her. Without wasting any time, he said, "Hi, Bora. Go ahead and tell me what Muna has done." Minji sighed sadly. "Muna has stolen Junseo from me. They have both fallen in love and are all lovey-dovey. They have sex regularly and kiss in front of me without stopping to think how it would make me feel." "Stop right there," Miho said. "I know what kind of girl Muna is better than anyone else. Junseo may be fickle, but Muna is not. I trust her completely, and I know she would never betray our love. If you called me here to spew lies against her, or if you are working for Junseo in hopes that I will turn against Muna, I can assure you that you will not succeed." After speaking, Miho stood up to leave, but Minji said, "Hold on. Why would I want you to turn against Muna when it will not benefit me in any way? I want her out of Junseo's life because I need my man back. If you don't believe me, then see for yourself." Minji handed her phone to Miho. She had known that he would not believe her, which was why she spent so much money to get the video before they left Busan. Miho watched in surprise as Muna tiptoed behind Junseo, who sat on a bench outside a hotel. She covered his eyes with one of her hands, and he made her sit on the bench with him. After a while, they began to kiss each other and later stood up and went into the hotel. Miho's hand shook as he watched the video and his eyes became red. Minji said, "I know you are hurting right now, but it's not Muna's fault. Junseo is quite good at seducing ladies, and that's what he did to her. Why do you think he took her on that trip in the first place?" They both stayed in the same hotel and were always holding hands. Seeing the way Muna was so happy being with Junseo broke Miho's heart. He sat on the chair weakly and said, "I can't believe I have lost my Muna." "No, you haven't lost her yet," Minji replied. "Something can still be done. You can't give up because Junseo would only use her until he gets tired of her. Eventually, he will discard her because of his hatred for her family. I called you here because I have a plan. If you agree to work with me, I can promise you that in 3 days, Muna and Junseo's relationship will be completely ruined. You will have her back, and you can even convince her to marry you and go back to Incheon. Are you willing to work with me?" Miho thought for a while. "No matter what, Bora, I don't want Muna to be hurt." Minji shook her head. "Far from it, Miho. What you are doing will only save Muna from Junseo, and you both will eventually be happy together." "I guess you are right," Miho replied thoughtfully while Minji heaved a sigh of relief. "So tell me, Bora, what's the plan?" Muna sat in the dining according to Junseo's instruction and waited impatiently. After making her wait for a while, Junseo finally came out with the food. He served Muna happily and said, "Go on, tell me how it tastes." As he watched Muna take a spoonful into her mouth, he recalled when she had cooked for him and he had deliberately insulted her and called her food rubbish. He realized now how painful that must have been to her because he so badly wanted to hear what she thought of his food. Wow, Junseo, this is amazing. You are such a good cook. Why don't you become a full-time chef? Junseo stared at Muna happily as she ate the food while relishing its taste. It turned out that cooking for someone else and seeing them enjoy the food brought so much satisfaction. After observing her for a while, Junseo joined in until they emptied the plates. Muna wanted to take the plates to the kitchen, but Junseo said, "Let me, your arm must still hurt." She watched in admiration as he took the plates to the kitchen and cleaned them up before coming to meet her. "I have a lot of work to do at the office tomorrow," Junseo said. "I think you should go to bed. You must be exhausted." Muna nodded her head and got up from the dining. Junseo also got up and they both stood facing each other. "Good night, Junseo," Muna said without moving an inch. "Good night, Muna," Junseo replied and turned to walk into his room. Muna wanted to tell him to give her a goodnight kiss, but she couldn't bring herself to say it since she was feeling embarrassed. She watched as Junseo got into his room and locked his door, after which she turned sadly and went into her room. When Junseo entered his room and locked his door, he leaned his back on the door. Only he knew how he had struggled to control himself. He had more or less run away from Muna because his desire to pounce on her was so strong. He didn't want to have sex with her while her arm was in so much pain. Meanwhile, Muna felt frustrated with Junseo's actions. She couldn't understand him. One minute, he couldn't keep his hands away from her, and the next minute he was acting so clueless. Wasn't he the man? Why couldn't he take the initiative now that they were back home? Or could it be that he wanted her to initiate it? She felt shy whenever it came to things like this, but it seemed she needed to become bold like Minji. She decided that if Junseo didn't make a move on her tomorrow, she will make a move on him. Muna woke up early the next day and decided to look beautiful before coming out of her room. The pain in her arm had subsided and she felt so much better. She applied makeup on her face because she felt her skin wasn't looking as beautiful as it used to, all thanks to the island. She heard Junseo open his door and quickly combed her hair before coming out of her room. Junseo was just about to knock on her door when she opened it. He was already dressed for work and wanted to inform Muna that he was leaving. He stared at her for a while and said, "You look beautiful and much better." "Thank you," she replied. "You don't look too bad yourself. I wanted to inform you that I'm leaving for work and I will see you when I get back." Muna became sad as Junseo began to walk away. She had thought he would be attracted to her when he saw her look, but it didn't have any effect on him. She followed behind him until they both got outside the house. She leaned by the door sadly and watched as he got into his car. Junseo started his car and wound down his windscreen to wave at Muna, but he saw that she was very sad. He killed his engine, came down from his car, and walked towards her. Muna thought he had forgotten something when she saw him walking back, but he stopped in front of her, caressed her face, and asked, "Why do you look so sad?" She wanted to tell him the reason, but her courage failed her, so she just stared at him longingly. "Do you want me to kiss you?" Junseo asked. Muna nodded her head shyly and Junseo smiled. He cupped her cheeks and placed a soft kiss on her glossy lips. He had planned to make it brief, but Muna held on to his neck without letting go. They continued kissing until they were both out of breath. Junseo ended the kiss and placed his forehead on Muna's as he tried to control his breathing. "I want you, Junseo," Muna finally said. "I want you so badly." Junseo stared at her in surprise since she had never been so expressive about her desire for him. He ran his thumb along her lower lip and asked, "Like right now?" Muna blushed, "Not right now, since you are all set for work, but when you get back." "Okay, darling, your wish is my command," Junseo replied and kissed her lips once more. "I'll be back very early, okay? Let's have a little party, just the two of us. What do you say?" "I would love that," Muna replied. "I can bake a little cake for the party to go with the wine." "Just do whatever makes you happy," Junseo said. "But remember, I don't want you stressing yourself unnecessarily, okay?" Muna nodded and hugged Junseo before letting him go. As she watched him drive off, she felt so happy and almost exploded with excitement. That wasn't so hard now, Muna, was it? She asked herself. She quickly got ready and went to the supermarket. After buying everything she needed for the cake, she got some scented candles, a sexy blue gown for herself, and some new body sprays. She wanted tonight to be special and she was willing to go all out. Muna was tired when she got back home and decided to take a nap for a while, but her phone rang before she could do that. She looked at her screen and saw that it was Miho. She could not help feeling guilty. She knew they had both promised each other that they would be in love for the rest of their lives, but she was married to Junseo now. Everything that was happening now was something she had no control over, and even if she hadn't fallen in love with Junseo, she would still be apart from Miho unless Junseo chose to let her go. When she answered the call, Miho said, "My beloved Muna, how are you?" "I am fine, Miho. How are you?" "I am not doing well, Muna," Miho replied. "I miss you so much, and it's getting incredibly harder to live without you. I am stuck here in Seoul dreaming about when I will free you from the clutches of that evil man." Muna felt uncomfortable at the way Miho described Junseo. Before now, she would have agreed with him, but she had come to believe that Junseo was a good man and despite his flaws, he was an amazing husband. However, she could not bring herself to say that because she knew it would hurt Miho. The best thing she could do for him was to advise him to forget about her and go back to Incheon so he could move on with his life. "I want to see you, Muna," Miho said. "Let me see you just once and I will be okay. If you want, I can even come to your house right now if Junseo is not around." Muna thought for a moment and asked, "How did you know that I was back in Seoul?" Miho realized that Minji was the one who told him that Muna was back. He could not let her know about the plans they were making, so he said, "I just guessed it. I wasn't really sure, so can I come over?" "No, you can't come over, Miho. Think about it. If Junseo finds out, he would say we are cuckolding him. Apart from that, it is not fair to you that we keep talking like this. I am legally married to Junseo, and he has rights over me. There is a possibility that he will never let me go. I don't want you to spend your life waiting for me. Please go back to Incheon, and I'm sure you will eventually fall in love again. I have accepted my reality. I am Junseo's wife, and that will not change. You also have to accept this reality, Miho. Please, this is what is best for the both of us." Miho tried to conceal the disappointment he felt. He had called Muna because he wanted to hear from her mouth that she did not want him anymore, and now he was sure. It was a good thing Minji reached out to him because he wasn't going to give up on Muna, no matter what. "Since you have already given up on our love, Muna, then I guess I have to leave. After this week, I will go back to Incheon and never return. Take good care of yourself and goodbye." Muna felt sad when she got off the phone with Miho. Her mood had been badly affected because she could not change the fact that Miho was her first love and she would always feel something for him. She reminded herself that she wasn't doing anything wrong and she had not cheated anyone. After sulking for a while, she gave up on sleeping and decided to start baking the cake. Junseo tried to work through the files on his desk as quickly as possible. It was already past 3 and he was so eager to get home to Muna. Just thinking about what awaited him at home made his blood rush. He was really pleased this morning when Muna told him that she wanted him. He could see that she was shy, but he found her actions really cute. He decided to look at her face and went to her social media page. In the picture on her Instagram profile, she held a cat close to her face and smiled. She looked really beautiful. Junseo kept staring at Muna's picture on his phone and smiling until someone walked into his office. When he looked up and saw Minji, the smile on his face disappeared instantly. He logged out of Instagram, folded his arms, and stared at Minji. "What can I do for you, Miss Choi?" Minji felt her heart break at how formally Junseo was addressing her. They used to be so close, and most of her colleagues envied her relationship with him. They'd even had very steamy moments on Junseo's table, but now he seemed to have forgotten all that since Muna was the new object of his desire. "I need to show you something," Minji said before walking closer to Junseo's table. She took out 3 pictures from her bag and placed them on the table. Junseo stared at the pictures in surprise. They were pictures of his late family, his dad, mom, and sister. He picked up his sister's picture and became emotional when he looked at it. He looked up at Minji and asked, "What are you doing with these pictures, Minji, and why have you brought them to me?" Minji sighed sadly. "No matter what has happened between us, Junseo, I will always be on your side. You had shown me these pictures once, and I kept them safe because I know how important they are to you. Do you remember what you said to me on that day? You told me how happy your family was. It was just the 4 of you, and you loved your little sister so much. Do you remember who took that away from you? Muna's parents. You told me how they paid a truck driver to run your little sister over. Do you also remember how her remains were when you went to identify her body?" "Stop, Minji," Junseo said. "I don't want to hear anymore. I'm sorry, but you have to hear the truth, Junseo. You swore to make them all pay. Think about the promise you made on your sister's grave. Muna and her family were going to experience suffering that is worse than death. That was the promise you made, but what do you do now? You fondle and kiss Muna all the time. You only have her in your eyes and have forgotten the promise you made to your innocent sister who was gruesomely murdered. Shut the fuck up, Minji. Junseo screamed, but Minji screamed harder. I know it hurts, but you have to hear the truth, Junseo. You spend all your time making Muna happy and making her life better. Soon you will start visiting her parents as the dutiful son-in-law, and Muna will have you doing everything possible to make her parents happy. You failed your sister, Junseo. You failed your parents. Junseo became filled with anger. His eyes turned red and he screamed and pushed everything on his table down. He grabbed the table and pushed it forward while Minji ran out of the office as the table tumbled over. Junseo picked up his sister's picture, which had fallen on the ground. He caressed her face and said, I'm sorry, Soyeon. I haven't forgotten my promise to you, and I never will. Minji quietly walked back, stood outside Junseo's office, and partially opened the door. Junseo now sat on the floor sadly as he held the 3 pictures in his hands. Minji felt sorry for him. She knew how he struggled to forget those painful memories, and she knew that bringing it up would open up his old wounds, but Junseo didn't give her much of a choice. I'm sorry, Junseo, but I am desperate, and I'm not ready to give you up to anyone, much less Muna, Minji thought to herself before walking away. Muna finished baking the cake and stared at it admiringly. She had really put in her best because she wanted Junseo to be blown away when he came back. She looked at the time and saw that it was almost 5 p.m. Junseo had said he would be back early, which meant that he was probably on his way. She quickly placed the cake in the center of the dining table and kept 2 bottles of wine beside it. She lit the scented candles and placed them by the sides of the table. It looked really beautiful, and in no time, the living room had an alluring fragrance with a romantic ambience. After setting up everything, Muna rushed into her bathroom and took a bath, after which she sprayed some perfumes on her body. She wore the sexy blue gown she had bought and applied makeup on her face. She felt content when she stared at herself in the mirror. She had not looked this beautiful ever since she got married to Junseo. So, she was convinced that Junseo would be mesmerized the moment he set his eyes on her. She waited for him, but he was taking longer than she expected. When it was 7 p.m., she decided to call him as she had begun to worry if he was okay. She called repeatedly, but Junseo did not take her calls. She found it strange and decided to call him using the landline. However, he rejected the call this time around, causing Muna to become extremely worried. Something was wrong, and it was possible that Junseo had gotten into an accident or something else had happened. She thought of calling his personal assistant, but recalled that his number wasn't saved in her phone. She had never been to Junseo's office before, and she had not gotten a car for herself yet, so she couldn't go to him. After a while, she realized that the only thing she could do was wait for Junseo. She sat on the couch feeling sad. If only she could know if he was safe, she would feel so much better. Muna waited until she became hungry, but she had no desire to eat. She eventually slept off on the couch and woke up when she heard a noise from outside. She quickly got off the couch and ran to the window to see who it was. She saw Junseo coming out of his car and breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at the clock and saw that it was past 11. Something must have surely happened to him, she thought to herself. She opened the door just when Junseo took out his key. As he came into the house, Muna perceived alcohol from him. Did he drive himself even after drinking? She decided to forget about that. For now, she was just happy that he was safe. The moment Junseo locked the door, she threw herself on his body and hugged him while placing her head on his chest. I waited for so long, Junseo. I was really worried because I thought something bad happened to you. I kept calling your number, but there was no answer from you. What happened? When she didn't get any reply from Junseo, Muna lifted her head to look at him. She didn't know why, but the Junseo in front of her seemed different from the one she saw in the morning. Junseo looked into Muna's eyes and became entranced. She seemed so innocent and impeccably beautiful. She smelled really amazing too, and he had a strong urge to take her right there. He let go of his jacket, which he held with his right hand, and ran his fingers around the contours of her face. Muna closed her eyes. Nothing else mattered to her at this point. She could see the desire in Junseo's eyes, and although her day hadn't gone as perfect as she had imagined, the moment she had been waiting for had finally arrived. Junseo pulled Muna's face closer to his and closed his eyes. He was about to kiss her when Minji's voice began to ring in his mind. You failed your sister, Junseo. You failed your parents. Junseo suddenly retracted his hand from Muna's face and pushed her away from his body. She staggered and fell behind on the couch while he began walking to his room. Shocked, Muna got up and ran after Junseo. She held his hand and asked, "What is the problem, Junseo? Have I done something wrong?" Junseo ignored her and still wanted to walk to his room, but Muna stood in front of him and blocked his way. "Please talk to me, Junseo, because I don't understand what is going on." "Move out of my way, Muna," Junseo warned. Muna stared at Junseo's angry eyes as she tried to understand what she had done wrong. Junseo didn't want to look at her, so he kept his eyes straight ahead. Muna reached out her hands and cupped his face in an effort to get him to look at her. Junseo pulled his face away from her grasp and pushed her away. She ended up falling on her butt and cried out in pain. "What have I done wrong, Junseo?" she asked as her eyes became misty. "You have taken my family from me," Junseo replied angrily. "You and your evil parents. You took away everything from me and now you act like a saint." Muna got up from the ground and began to cry. "That is not fair, Junseo. I wasn't even born when that incident happened, and after everything that has happened between us, I thought." "Nothing has happened between us," Junseo cut in. "I merely toyed with you and gave you a little attention, but because you are too easy, you began to dream big and throw yourself at me. Muna, I hate you and I hate your parents, and for as long as I live, I will never forgive all of you for taking away the people I love most from me. And what are these candles doing on my dining?" Junseo angrily walked to the dining and began to destroy everything. He pushed the cake to the ground and broke the wine bottles. When Muna couldn't bear to watch him anymore, she ran into her room, threw herself on her bed, and wept. After destroying everything on the dining table, Junseo went into his room and locked the door. He sat on the floor and leaned his head on his bed. His heart was in a lot of pain, and the tightness he felt inside caused his head to ache painfully. After sitting for a while, he went to his drawer and took out a bottle of pills. He put a few of them in his mouth and fell on his bed as sleep completely engulfed him. After crying for a while, Muna got up and wiped her eyes. She took her bath and changed into her pajamas before lying back on the bed. There was no need for her to cry because she knew that despite what Junseo said, he had feelings for her. She had not only seen it, but had experienced it as well. Junseo couldn't get past his hatred for her family because he had been made to believe a lie. She needed to help him see the truth, but how was she going to do that? She shouldn't have allowed herself to fall for Junseo, at least not now. What was she going to do about her broken heart? She couldn't figure out what had triggered Junseo's behavior last night, but there was no way she was going to give up on him. She was going to do whatever it took to convince Junseo that she was not the enemy and neither were her parents. Junseo woke up with pain in his body. He knew that it was because he drank a lot last night. He recalled that the last time he drank alcohol, Muna had made hangover soup for him. Although back then he was completely wasted, the morning effect would have been the same. He recalled everything that happened between him and Muna last night and felt that he went overboard. He couldn't deny that he hated Muna's parents, but he didn't hate her. He had sworn to make her family pay for everything they did to him, but how is he going to do so when his heart now beats for her? He couldn't go back on his promise to Soyeon, so the best thing he needed to do now was avoid Muna. He didn't know how long he would be able to do that, but he was determined to fight the attraction between them. He owed his late sister that much. He got ready for work and opened the door of his room to leave, but saw Muna standing in front of him. He didn't know how long she had been standing there, but she took him by surprise. "Good morning, Junseo," Muna said. "You were very upset last night, and you had a lot to drink. How are you feeling? Do you need my help with anything?" Junseo looked at the mess he had made in the dining area. He knew Muna must have spent the whole day making preparations for their supposed special night, but in the end, it didn't matter. He stared at her face for a while and could see the sadness in her eyes. Ignoring her questions, he said, "Muna, stay away from me." He locked his door after speaking and left for work while Muna stood there staring at him sadly as he walked away. After Junseo left, Muna went to the dining and began to clean up the place. When she was through cleaning, she got ready and left the house. She wanted to see her parents since it had been a while since she last saw them. Although the injury on her arm didn't hurt as it did before, she chose to wear a jacket because she didn't want her parents to see it and start worrying about her. When she arrived home, Her parents were so happy, especially since they weren't expecting her. Her father observed her for a while and asked, "Why do you look so pale? Is Junseo maltreating you?" "Far from it, Dad. Junseo has been nothing short of a model husband. You know I got into this marriage expecting the worst from him, but he isn't a bad person." "Nonsense," her dad replied. "I know you are just covering for him because you don't want us to worry. Muna, my dear, we are your parents. You can hide your pain from anyone else, but you shouldn't hide it from us. Come and place your head on my lap." Muna happily got up from where she sat and went to the couch where her dad was seated. She lay on the couch, placed her head on his lap, and closed her eyes. She told herself that she had so many things to be grateful for. Her father had regained his health and both her parents loved her so much. And as for Junseo, someday he was going to come around. She didn't know how long that was going to be though, and that made her sad. As her father stroked her hair, he said, "Everything is going to be fine, my dear. Just give it time." Hearing her dad's soothing voice made her feel so much better. This was something she enjoyed a lot while growing up, but when she left Seoul, she no longer had the opportunity to place her head on her dad's lap whenever she felt sad. She considered it a luxury and a privilege, and having it at a time like this made her feel so grateful. She soon closed her eyes and drifted off to sleep. About an hour later, her mom woke her up because it was time for lunch. Muna once again felt happy as she hadn't enjoyed her mom's cooking in a long time. After having lunch, she sat in between her parents, and they both saw a movie together. She ended up crying in the end because the movie was really touching. She had such a good time that she forgot about her life as Junseo's wife until she received a call from him. When Junseo got back home, he planned to ignore Muna as usual. He unlocked the door with his key and thought that Muna was inside her bedroom, but after a while, he realized that Muna was not at home. He went to her room and knocked to be doubly sure, but there was no reply. He looked at the time. It was past 7. Where could she be? After a few minutes of internally battling himself, he took out his phone and called her. Muna was laughing at a joke her father had said and didn't remember to check who was calling. When she answered the call, Junseo could hear her laughing and began to wonder where she was. Was she with Miho? He became angry as the thought crossed his mind, but became angrier when she asked, "Please, who's this?" Junseo gritted his teeth as he responded, "You have less than 10 minutes to get back home, Muna. Otherwise, you will see the worst of me." Unfortunately, Muna's parents heard what Junseo said because she was sitting in between them. Her father felt so angry at the way Junseo spoke to her. He was even more upset with himself because he was helpless and couldn't do anything to free Muna from Junseo. As Junseo hung up the phone, the smile on Muna's face disappeared. She turned towards her dad to tell him that it was time to leave, but then she saw him struggling to breathe. She screamed in fear and held him while her mum quickly dashed into the bedroom and came out with his medication. He calmed down after taking his medicines, but Muna could not stop crying. Her dad had given her a big fright as she had felt she was going to lose him. She wished she could stay behind and be with him for longer, but her mum said, "Muna dear, let the driver take you back home. Your husband is waiting for you. Don't worry about your father. I am here to take good care of him." Muna finally bid them goodbye and left with the driver. Meanwhile, Junseo waited for more than 30 minutes without any sign of her. He thought of making her sleep outside as punishment when she finally arrived, but when he recalled how painful it had been for them on the island, he decided against it. The driver finally arrived and dropped Muna off. Junseo opened the blinds and saw her through the window as she came down from the car and smiled at the driver before saying goodnight. He saw that it was a man that dropped Muna off, and since he couldn't make out the face of the man, he concluded that it was Miho. He felt so angry and jealous that when Muna got to the door, he opened it and pulled her in. Muna was very surprised as she thought Junseo would be in his room since he didn't want to have anything to do with her. He pushed her to the wall and circled one of his hands around her neck as if to strangle her while Muna stared at him in surprise. She was angry because she had almost lost her dad because of him. "Do you want to kill me, Junseo? Go ahead and do it if it will make you feel better about yourself." "Shut the fuck up, Muna." "Oh, I see. You have gone back to your lover, is that it? Your wings have grown again and now you dare to talk back at me? Who is the man who dropped you off? Was it Miho?" Muna couldn't figure out what was going on with Junseo. She furrowed her brows, so what if it was Miho? "Will you choke me to death because of that?" Junseo tightened his grip on Muna's neck and flung her to the ground. She hit her elbow as she fell and cried out in pain while Junseo got on her body and asked, "Do you need a man so badly that you have to run back to your little boyfriend?" Muna tried to get up, but Junseo pinned her to the ground. He pushed open her jacket and tore her top, revealing her white bra. She tried to fight him off, but he held her wrists with one of his hands and asked, "Don't you want to be fucked?" "Well, I'm going to grant your wish." He pulled open her bra and grabbed one of her boobs. As she felt his mouth on her nipple, she began to cry. "You disgust me, Junseo. Get off of me." "You won't be saying that when I'm done with you," he replied and shifted his attention to another boob. "No, please stop," Muna begged amidst tears. "Please, Junseo, don't do this. I don't want to hate you. I didn't meet with Miho. I went to see my parents, and the man that dropped me off was their driver." Junseo let go of Muna's wrists and came to his senses when he heard what she said. He stared at her as she cried on the floor and regret washed over him. After a while, he lifted her from the ground and took her into her bedroom. He placed her on the bed and said, "I'm sorry, Muna. I don't know what came over me." After that, he got up and left for his room. Muna lay on her bed crying. She suddenly heard her phone ringing and got up to look for it. She found it in the living room and noticed that her dad was the one calling. She ran back into her bedroom and answered the call while trying to sound as cheerful as possible. "How are you feeling now, Muna?" her dad asked. "I am okay, Dad, but I should be the one asking you how you are feeling. Did Junseo try to hurt you? Don't lie to me, Muna." Muna laughed. "What are you saying, Dad? Why would Junseo hurt me? He was just upset because he was worried about me. I didn't tell him I was going out and he thought I went to see my ex-boyfriend." "What? Who is your ex-boyfriend? Do you have a man you are seeing on the side?" "No, Dad. How can I do that? I am married and I am happy with my husband. I could never do such a thing, so don't worry about me and take good care of yourself. I will see you soon." Muna heaved a sigh of relief when she got off the phone with her dad. At least, he wouldn't have a reason to worry now. She looked at her torn clothes and felt sad. She could not believe that Junseo had tried to force himself on her. She wasn't even unwilling, so why couldn't he do it respectfully? Or could it be that he was jealous? As she thought about it, Muna realized that Junseo had indeed been jealous. He only let go of her and apologized when she told him that she wasn't with Miho. If Junseo was so angry because she was with another man, then her suspicions were correct. Junseo had feelings for her, and now she needed to make him confess his true feelings. She suddenly felt over the moon as her mood improved tremendously. She applied ointment on her elbow and said to herself, "This is just a small price you have to pay Muna to get the man you love."
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like, share and comment below.